Hello and welcome to my video where I share the basket of books that I have on deck for July. For me, July feels like Jane Austen, whether it's Jane Austen summer or Jane Austen July. It's just the time of year that I typically reach for Jane Austen. I am currently watching the Other Bennet Sister on BBC and really enjoying it, and it's helping me here at the end of June to really kind of get settled into that Regency era romance feel that I just reach for in the summertime. So quite a few of these books are Regency era, are an homage to Jane Austen, while a few of them are buddy reads, and one of them is just a gorgeous book that I'm so excited to share with you. So, with that said, let's dive in. Start with, we're going to, again, settle into that Jane Austen Regency era time period. And the first book that I have to share is The Murder of Mr. Wickham by Claudia Gray. I have seen this mystery series for years now. So this is the first book in what I think is a fairly long series with maybe half a dozen books in it at this point. This is kind of a mashup of all of Jane Austen's characters. So we have Mr. Knightley and Emma. This is going to spoil Emma if you haven't read it. We've got Juliet Tilney, for those of you who have read Northanger Abbey. We also have her parents that are there. We also have Jonathan Darcy, who is the Darcy's oldest son. So that's coming out of Pride and Prejudice. This is says on the back that it is a tantalizing fusion of Jane Austen and Agatha Christie. So I think it is a locked mansion murder mystery. We have a villain in one of Jane Austen's books get his comeuppance. We are along for the ride to figure out who done it. So again, I've been looking forward to starting this series, and this Jane Austen summer is the time that I'm going to do it. Next, I have Sense and Suitability by Pepper Basham. This is obviously a play on Sense and Sensibility as far as the title, but when I read the back of this, I don't think it's like inspired by or a retelling. I think it's just a Regency era romance, clean, wholesome romance. And the easiest way to let someone know that this is Regency and sort of Jane Austen-esque is to have the title be close to one of her books, I think is what the idea is there. Because in this, we have Emmeline Lockhart. She is an author. She is independently wealthy because of that. She obviously, I think, has to keep that on the down low. But although she doesn't have to get married, she does end up thinking she's going to marry someone, and then they ghost her and she gets her heart broken. But then the person who broke her heart is back in her life, and I think she decides to play a little bit of matchmaker for this person. So we have that connection with her name being Emmeline and the matchmaking in Emma, I think. So we have this kind of, they're enemies a little bit, but she agrees to help him find a partner, and I think they develop feelings again. I think there's what they're calling undeniable chemistry. So I do love this cover. I think it's beautiful. I love the back as well. I have heard of Pepper Basham, but I have not read any of her books. And it is blurbed on the front by Mimi Matthews, who I do really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to cracking that one open. Next, I have a Jane Austen biography. This is by Carol Shields. It is a small little book, certainly manageable. And I have not read any biographies of Jane Austen. I found this in a little free library last year when I went to the place that's actually a little free library building. It's like a store, but a little free library. Really awesome experience. I found this and I picked it up then, and I've been saving it this whole time. And I am planning on reading this along with Gil Hornby's Miss Austen. This is from the perspective, I believe, of Cassandra, who is Jane Austen's sister. She finds a whole bunch of letters of kind of like diary style letters that Jane Austen has written that divulges, I think, some secrets that Jane has kept about her life. And Cassandra is reading through them. I think we read them together. And then she has to make the decision of whether to share their contents with the world or maybe with people who are involved, or to simply burn the letters. I think it would be an interesting book to read together with the biography to see if there are any similarities. I'm not sure of the time period of this Miss Austen book versus what this biography is, but I thought I would maybe read them together and just see how they blend. Next, I have a copy of Sanditon. This is Jane Austen wrote an unfinished novel called Sanditon. This is also written by and another lady, which means they had a writer who helped to finish off Jane Austen's previously unfinished work. I have not done any research to find out who the another lady is. I'm sure it's available and out there. Maybe if I get to this and share it in my wrap-up, I can share anything that I have learned about it. But someone was deemed to be skilled enough to be able to take Jane Austen's story and to continue it. So I have not read or watched Sanditon as of yet. And again, I'm hoping that this summer that changes. I just think the cover is so very beautiful and just reminds me of summer. And so I'm guessing that, once I get through the first 11 chapters, which I think were the original fragment of the novel that Jane Austen left, I'm guessing I'll be able to tell when the writing changes, but we'll see. This is also a heavy lift, but it's one that I want to include on my stack, and that is Evelina. This is by Frances Burney. Frances Burney, I once read, was one of Jane Austen's favorite authors, maybe her favorite author. And this was a book that Jane Austen liked. Apparently there are other books that she wrote that Jane Austen gave nods to in her work. And I have not read any Frances Burney. This has been on my list now for a while. And I figured that I would just go ahead and put it on the stack and see if I can make any headway in this. All right. That is the Jane Austen portion of my basket. And next I'm going to share just really quickly my buddy read plans for the month. So the first one is Miss Buncle Married. So originally, I have a friend that I read books with. We read fiction in the summer and nonfiction all other seasons, and we chose D.E. Stevenson's Buncle series. We thought, okay, we'll read Miss Bunkle's book slowly through the summer, but we enjoyed it so much that we thought, you know what, let's read it faster, and let's get to Miss Buncle Married this summer as well. So here in July, we will be starting this. I'm so excited. The back says completely charming. I've really enjoyed Miss Buncle. There's like this dry sense of humor that's in it, and I've just really enjoyed reading it, not only just with her, but reading it in general. And so both made the decision to just grab this and have it ready to go so that here in July we can start this. And then for the Cozy Reader Book Club, we have Love Comes Home by Molly Clavering. Love is our main character, Jane's sister, and she is legit coming home. She's just left Paris after being finished and learning all of these skills, and she decides to come home and she starts to meddle in her sister's love life. So I think we've got a little bit of enemies, or like two characters that are a little bit grumpy with each other that Love decides they actually should be together, and she starts matchmaking. So we'll see. I am hoping that this is just a fun light read for our Cozy Reader Book Club this summer. As always, I will put the information below on how you can join our Substack so that you can join in this summer. And then my last buddy read is Finishing the Thornbirds by Colleen McCullough. I am reading this with a group of ladies that I really enjoy buddy reads with. The discussion on Thornbirds has been lively, to say the least. This, we decided, since it's so thick, and again, it's summer, which comes with its own busyness, we decided to read this over 2 months. It's divided into 7 sections, so we are reading 1 section a week. Some sections are short, and then other weeks we have, a lot more to get through. So it just kind of depends. I actually have it divided out by the different sections. So this is a reread for me. There are some things that I've remembered, and then there's other things that I have not. And I do think reading this, decades later, it just gives you a different perspective. I think you relate to characters differently, you see things differently. So I've really enjoyed this reread and am looking forward to continuing. It's like a soap opera in Australia. It's really amazing. Okay, so last, but certainly not least, I found this beautiful Folio Society book in a used bookstore last year, and I've been saving it for the summer. I love the slipcase. I just think this is just such a beautiful book. It's got this like linen cover. This is Green Gage Summer by Rumer Godden. The Folio Society published it in 2000. I don't have any other Folio Society books that I can recall. So this was written in 1958. I believe it is somewhat autobiographical. It says at the beginning, there's a foreword in here by Rumer Godden's daughter, and it says, Green Gage Summer has always been a very personal book for those close to my mother, Rumer Godden, who died in November 1998 in her 91st year. The novel is semi-autobiographical. So it says that when Rumer Godden married James, who was the daughter's stepfather, they drove through France, and they found themselves in Chateau Thierry, which is a small town on the banks of the Marne between Paris and Reims. And her mother was immediately taken back to the fraught, magical, and at times dramatic summer weeks she had spent there with her sisters as a girl. And so I think this is her retelling of that story and that experience. So again, with it being summer, I figured this is a good time to read it. I will say I mentioned this to my friend Jen that I was going to read this, and she said, oh, I'll be interested to know what you think, which is a little disconcerting, but I am determined that this is the summer that I am going to read this because, like I said, I got this beautiful book at least a year ago, so I am really looking forward to diving into this. So there are the 10 books that I am hoping to get to in the month of July. As always, I would love to hear what you think. If any of these you've read and you've loved, if you've read them and you haven't loved them, I would love to hear all of that. And then, as always, I would love to hear what is on your pile of reading books for the month of July. I'm always looking to enhance and increase my own TBR. So, as always, you guys, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.